The stars shimmered like diamonds against the black void of space. Ambassador John Harris stood at the observation window of the orbital station Aurora, his hands clasped behind his back. The blue curve of Earth filled half the view, a sight that never failed to move him. Today was different. Today would change everything. "Ambassador, they're here," said his aide, a young woman named Beth. John nodded and straightened his uniform. The Galactic Council had finally made contact with humanity. After decades of wondering if we were alone in the universe, the answer had arrived. They came in massive ships that appeared out of nowhere, their technology far beyond anything humans had ever seen. Captain Lisa Morgan watched the alien vessels from the bridge of the USS Independence. Her crew worked quietly at their stations, tension filling the air. The Independence was Earth's most advanced warship, but compared to what floated before them, it might as well have been a rowboat. "Maintain position," Lisa ordered. "No sudden moves. We're here to protect, not provoke." The alien ships were beautiful in a strange way. They looked like giant crystals, catching and bending light in impossible patterns. But Lisa had spent 20 years in the military. She knew that beauty could hide danger. Inside Aurora Station, John and his team waited in the main conference room. The walls were lined with screens showing views from different angles. Representatives from every major Earth nation sat around, the table united for the first time in history. The air shimmered and 3 figures appeared in the center of the room. They were tall, easily 7 feet, with smooth gray skin and large black eyes. They wore robes that seemed to flow like liquid metal. "I am Zorak of the Vorath Empire," the center figure said. Its voice was deep and resonant, translated by some invisible device. "We speak for the Galactic Council." John stepped forward. "Welcome to Earth space. I am Ambassador John Harris. We are honored by your visit." Zorak tilted his head, studying John like a scientist examining a specimen. "Humans, you have reached the stars. This changes things." "We hope for peaceful relations," John said. "Earth wishes to join the galactic community as friends." The alien's eyes narrowed. "The Vorath Empire controls this sector of space. You exist because we have allowed it." A chill ran down John's spine. This wasn't going as he'd hoped. "We seek only peace and cooperation." John tried again. "Peace?" Zorak's voice held contempt. "Peace is for the strong. You will surrender your sovereignty to the Vorath Empire. Your resources, your technology, your people, all will serve us." Murmurs of shock filled the room. John felt his heart racing but kept his face calm. "Earth is a free world. We cannot accept these terms." "Cannot or will not." Zorak moved closer. "You have one Earth rotation to decide, submit, or face the consequences." "On the Independence." Lisa listened to the conversation through her earpiece. Her hand tightened on the command chair. "All stations, yellow alert," she ordered quietly. "Prepare for possible hostile action." Back in the conference room, John stood his ground. "We need time to discuss this with our governments." "Time is a luxury you do not have," Zorak said. "The Vorath Empire has conquered 1,000 worlds. Yours will be no different." The aliens vanished as suddenly as they had appeared. The room erupted in voices. John raised his hand for silence. "We need to contact Earth Command immediately." Hours passed in frantic discussions. World leaders debated through secure channels. Military advisors presented grim assessments. The consensus was clear. Earth would not surrender. As the deadline approached, John stood once more at the observation window. The Vorath ships had moved closer, their crystalline hulls now glowing with an ominous red light. "Ambassador," Beth said softly. "It's time." John activated the communication system. "Zorak of the Vorath Empire, this is Ambassador John Harris. Earth has made its decision." The alien's face appeared on the screen. "Speak." "We choose freedom. Earth will not surrender." Zorak's expression didn't change. "Then you choose extinction." "So be it." The transmission ended. John turned to his team. God help us all. Outside, the Vorath ships began to move. The first attack came without warning. Mars colony disappeared in a flash of light that could be seen from Earth. 2 million lives gone in an instant. Admiral Stephen Blake sat in Earth Command's war room, surrounded by screens showing the destruction. His face was carved from stone, but his hands shook slightly as he gave orders. "Status report on Europa," he demanded. "Under heavy bombardment, sir," replied Commander Helen Price. "They're targeting our ice mining facilities, casualties mounting." Stephen slammed his fist on the table. "Get me a direct line to all fleet commanders, now." On Europa, the ground shook as Vorath energy weapons carved through the ice. Scientists and miners ran for shelter. Dr. Emma Thompson grabbed her research files and sprinted toward the emergency bunkers. "Everyone, move!" she shouted. "Get to the tunnels!" An explosion knocked her off her feet. She crawled forward, clutching her data pad. These files contained everything she'd learned about alien technology over the past 5 years. They might be humanity's only hope. Back on Earth, Stephen coordinated the defense. "I want every ship we have protecting the remaining colonies. Launch the orbital defense platforms." "Sir," Helen said, "the Vorath ships, they're everywhere. We count at least 50 vessels. Then we fight 50 battles," Stephen growled. In space above Europa, Captain Frank Miller commanded the defense fleet. His ship, the Reliant, shuddered as Vorath weapons hit their shields. "Return fire," he ordered. "Target their weapons arrays." Human. Missiles streaked through space, but the Vorath ships seemed to absorb them like water. Their technology was beyond anything humans had encountered. "Sir, we're not even scratching them," his weapons officer reported. Frank gritted his teeth. "Then, we buy time. Every minute counts." On Earth, emergency meetings filled every government building. President Sarah Coleman addressed the world from a secure bunker. "Citizens of Earth," she said, her voice steady despite the fear in her eyes. "We are under attack, but we will not surrender. We will not give up our freedom." In her lab on Europa, Emma studied the energy signatures of Vorath weapons between explosions. Something didn't add up. Their power output fluctuated in a pattern. "That's it," she whispered. "They're not invincible. They have limits." She activated her emergency transmitter. "Earth Command, this is Dr. Emma Thompson. I've found something. The Vorath shield cycle every 37 seconds. There's a window." Stephen received the message just as reports came in of more attacks. Titan colony was burning. Mining stations in the asteroid belt were gone. "Can we exploit this weakness?" he asked his science team. "Maybe," said Dr. Paul Chen. "If we synchronize our attacks, hit them during the shield cycle." "Do it," Stephen ordered, "and prepare a message for broadcast." The human fleet regrouped. Ships from every nation joined together, old rivalries forgotten in the face of extinction. Captain Lisa Morgan took command of the combined force. "All ships, this is Morgan. Synchronize your attacks to the timing we're sending now. We hit them together." The Vorath commander Zorak watched the human ships gathering. He laughed. "Primitive creatures. They think numbers will save them." But something was different. The human ships moved with new purpose, new coordination. Stephen's face appeared on every screen, every channel across human space. "Vorath Empire," he said, his voice cold as space itself. "You attacked our colonies. You killed our people. You thought we would break." He paused, eyes burning with determination. "Since you chose war, let us show you how it's done." The human fleet struck as one. Thousands of weapons fired in perfect synchronization, hitting Vorath ships during their shield gaps. For the first time, alien vessels took damage. On Europa, Emma watched through a cracked dome as a Vorath ship exploded. In orbit, she smiled grimly and returned to her work. This was just the beginning. In Earth Command, Stephen watched the battle unfold. They were still outmatched, still taking losses. But now they had hope. Now they had a chance. "Sir," Helen reported, "we've destroyed 3 Vorath ships, but we've lost 12 of our own." Stephen nodded. "Then we learn. We adapt. We survive." He turned to his staff. Prepare Operation Vanguard. If they want war, we'll give them war. They'll never forget. Above Earth, the stars burned with the light of battle. Humanity had entered its darkest hour. But in that darkness, something new was being forged. General Mike Rodriguez stood before a holographic map of the solar system. Red dots marked Vorath positions. Blue dots showed what remained of human forces. The red far outnumbered the blue. "Ladies and gentlemen," he said to the gathered officers, "Operation Vanguard begins now." The plan was bold, maybe even crazy. 5 simultaneous attacks across 5 systems. Hit the Vorath where they least expected it. Show them that humans didn't just defend, they attacked. Captain Lisa Morgan led the first strike force toward the asteroid belt. Her fleet of 30 ships moved silently through space, all systems running dark. "Remember," she told her crews, "surprise is our best weapon. Hit hard, hit fast, get out." On Mars, or what was left of it, Colonel Sarah Williams prepared her ground forces. The Vorath had landed troops to secure the ruins. They would learn that humans fought just as hard, on the ground as in space. "Lock and load," Sarah ordered. "We take back our world today." Her soldiers were volunteers, survivors from the first attack. They had lost everything. Now they wanted payback. Lieutenant Dan Cooper sat in his fighter cockpit, part of the Mars Orbital Assault Wing. His squadron would provide air support for Sarah's ground troops. "Eagle Squadron, this is Eagle 1, he said. "Stay tight. Watch each other's backs." The attack began at dawn, Earth time. 5 human fleets struck at once. Lisa's force emerged from the asteroid field, weapons blazing. The Vorath ships scrambled to respond, but the humans had learned. They targeted shield generators during the cycle gaps Emma had discovered. Direct. "Hit on their command ship," Lisa's weapons officer shouted. Below on Mars, Sarah's troops burst from hidden tunnels. Vorath soldiers, used to easy victories, found themselves facing humans who refused to die. "For Mars," Sarah yelled, leading the charge. Dan's fighters screamed through the thin atmosphere, raining fire on Vorath positions. The aliens had better technology, but humans had something else. The desperate courage of those with nothing left to lose. Europa. A different battle raged. Human submarines, originally built for exploring the underground ocean, now carried torpedoes. They struck from beneath the ice, hitting Vorath bases from below. Near Jupiter, the 4th Fleet engaged Vorath supply ships. The aliens had grown careless, thinking humans beaten. They paid for that mistake. The 5th Fleet, the smallest, had the most dangerous mission. They jumped directly to the edge of Vorath-controlled space, attacking communication relays. In Earth, Command Mike watched the battles unfold. Reports flooded in. Mars ground forces have retaken the main colony site. Europa submarines report 3 Vorath bases destroyed. Jupiter fleet has captured a Vorath supply vessel intact, but victory came with a price. Human casualties mounted, ships exploded, soldiers died. On the Vorath command ship, Zorak watched, in disbelief. "Impossible," he muttered. "They are primitives. How can they coordinate like this?" His second-in-command looked worried. "Sir, they've adapted to our shield frequencies. Our advantages are diminishing." "Send reinforcements," Zorak ordered. "Crush them completely." But something had changed. The humans fought differently now. They used Vorath technology against them, learned from every encounter, adapted with frightening speed. Dr. Emma Thompson, working from a hidden lab on Europa, made another breakthrough. "The Vorath ships use quantum entanglement for communication," she reported. "If we can disrupt it..." Mike immediately saw the potential. "Do it. Cut them off from each other." Within hours, human ships deployed Emma's new weapon. Vorath fleet. Coordination began to fail. On Mars, Sarah's troops pushed forward. They found something in the ruins, a crashed Vorath scout ship, its databanks intact. "Command, this is Colonel Williams," she radioed. "We've got intel. Transmitting now." The data revealed Vorath battle plans, supply routes, weaknesses they had kept hidden. Mike studied it carefully. "They're not invincible," he said. "They're not gods. They're just another empire that thought it could push others around. He turned to his staff. Phase 2 of Vanguard begins now. We take the fight to them. Across human space, the tide was turning. The Vorath had expected an easy conquest. Instead, they found a species that grew stronger under pressure, that turned their own weapons against them, that refused to break. The war was far from over, but humanity had shown its teeth. The galaxy would never see them the same way again. Dr. Alex Foster stared at the captured Vorath technology on his workbench. The alien device hummed with energy patterns that defied conventional physics. His team had worked non-stop for weeks, taking apart every piece of equipment they could salvage from the battlefields. I think I've got it, Alex said, his eyes lighting. Their shields don't just block energy, they redirect it. His assistant Jenny Clark leaned closer. So if we reverse the polarity, we can turn their own weapons against them, Alex finished. Within days, human ships were retrofitted with adaptive shield technology. The next Vorath attack would face a very different enemy. Commander Kate Brown led her stealth ship, the Shadow, deep into enemy territory. Her mission was simple but deadly: infiltrate Vorath command networks and steal their battle plans. Approaching target, her pilot whispered. Vorath patrol ships at 3 o'clock. Kate nodded. Maintain silent running, not a sound. The Shadow slipped past the alien vessels like a ghost. Inside Vorath space, they discovered something shocking. The Empire was vast, but it was also struggling. They had conquered too much, too fast. On Titan, the siege had lasted for weeks. Captain Tom Davis commanded the USS Freedom, the last human ship defending Saturn's largest moon. His crew was exhausted, his ship damaged, but they refused to yield. Captain, Vorath reinforcements incoming, his sensor officer reported. Tom stood straighter. Then we make our stand here. All weapons, prepare to fire. But as the Vorath ships approached, something unexpected happened. Their formation broke apart. Their weapons fired randomly. Tom watched in amazement as the enemy fleet fell into chaos. Sir, I'm picking up a transmission, his communications officer said. It's Commander Brown. She's uploaded a virus into their command network. The tide of battle shifted. Human reinforcements arrived, led by the newly upgraded fleet. Alex's adaptive shields worked perfectly, turning Vorath energy weapons into harmless light shows. Back on Earth, factories worked around the clock. Every nation contributed. Old enemies became allies. Car plants built weapons. Toy factories produced military drones. Humanity united as never before. Private First Class. Jake Murphy watched his grandmother, a retired engineer, teaching young people how to build shield generators. Never thought I'd see the day, he said. She smiled. When the wolves come, even shepherds become warriors. The Vorath were learning a hard lesson. Humans weren't just fighting for territory or resources. They were fighting for survival, for freedom, for their very existence, and that made them dangerous. Dr. Emma Thompson made another breakthrough. By studying captured Vorath prisoners, she discovered they relied heavily on automated systems. Their actual combat experience was limited. They're conquerors, not warriors, she explained to Admiral Blake. They're used to others surrendering without a fight. Stephen nodded grimly. Then we teach them what real war looks like. Human tactics evolved daily. They used guerrilla warfare in space, hit-and-run attacks that left Vorath commanders frustrated and confused. They turned asteroids into weapons, used solar flares as cover, made the very environment fight for them. Captain Lisa Morgan led a daring raid on a Vorath shipyard. Her fleet destroyed dozens of enemy vessels still under construction. The operation cost her 3 ships, but the damage to Vorath production was catastrophic. They thought they could mass-produce victory, she said. We're showing them that quality beats quantity. On the captured Vorath command ship, human engineers made an incredible discovery. The aliens' faster-than-light drives could be modified, made even faster. Suddenly, human ships could strike anywhere, anytime. The Vorath Empire had never faced an enemy like this. Most species surrendered after the first show of force. Humans not only fought back, they got stronger with each battle. Zorak received report after report of defeats. His superiors demanded answers. How can primitives do this? They asked. He had no answer. The humans adapted too quickly, learned too fast, fought too hard. Every advantage the Vorath had was being neutralized or turned against them. In Earth Command, Mike Rodriguez smiled as he read the latest reports. Phase 3 begins tomorrow, he announced. We take the war to their core worlds. The hunter had become the hunted. The Vorath Empire was about to learn why humans had survived every challenge their own planet had thrown at them. They were about to face the most dangerous predator in the galaxy, a human species fighting for its survival. Earth's factories never stopped. Day and night they produced ships, weapons, and supplies. The entire planet had become one giant war machine. Children collected scrap metal. Elderly people assembled ammunition. Everyone had a role to play. General Amanda White stood before the largest gathering of military leaders in human history. Representatives from every nation sat together, their differences forgotten. Total war requires total commitment, she said. The Vorath wanted to see what humans can do. Let's show them. The new battle plan was ambitious. Instead of defending, humans would attack on every front. No more waiting. No more reacting. It was time to take the fight to the enemy. In shipyards across the solar system, a new fleet took shape. These weren't just warships, they were symbols of human determination. The USS Vengeance, the Beijing's Pride, the Moscow's Fury, each name carried a promise of retribution. Private Jason Mitchell and his platoon prepared for what seemed like a suicide mission. They would hold a critical jump point near Neptune, allowing the main fleet to pass through safely. Scared? His sergeant asked. Jason checked his rifle. Terrified. But they killed my sister on Mars. Fear won't stop me. The assault began with precision. Human fleets struck Vorath supply lines, communication hubs, and defensive stations simultaneously. For the first time, the aliens faced coordinated attacks across multiple star systems. Captain Lisa Morgan led the main strike force. Her fleet of 200 ships jumped directly into Vorath-controlled space. The enemy was caught completely off guard. All ships, execute attack pattern Omega, she ordered. Show no mercy. Human vessels moved like a swarm of angry hornets. They had learned from every battle, adapted every tactic. Where Vorath ships were rigid and predictable, human ships danced through space with deadly grace. Dr. Kevin Nelson unveiled his masterpiece, gravity weapons that could tear Vorath ships. Apart from the inside, the first test left nothing but twisted metal floating in space. Einstein would be proud, he said quietly. Or horrified. Maybe both. On the ground, human special forces led by Major Linda Scott infiltrated key Vorath installations. They moved, like shadows disabling planetary defense systems and causing chaos behind enemy lines. Remember, Linda told her team, we're not just soldiers, we're the nightmare they never saw coming. The Vorath command structure began to crumble. Their empire had grown through intimidation and superior technology. They had never faced an enemy that fought with such ferocity, such creativity, such unwavering determination. Back on Earth, AI systems developed by Dr. Alan Turner outmatched Vorath battle computers at every turn. The aliens relied on pre-programmed responses. Humans used intuition, creativity, and sheer unpredictability. Their computers think in straight lines, Alan explained. Humans think in spirals, zigzags, and loop-de-loops. Near Neptune, Jason, Mitchell's platoon faced overwhelming odds. 50 soldiers against an entire Vorath battle group. They held their position for 6 hours, buying time for the main fleet to pass. Mitchell, fall back, his commander ordered. Negative, sir, Jason replied, firing his last rounds. Someone has to hold the door open. The platoon was eventually overrun, but their sacrifice allowed humanity's largest fleet to reach Vorath space undetected. Songs would be written about the Neptune's 50, the soldiers who died so others could fight. As human forces pushed deeper, Into enemy territory, something unprecedented happened. Other species, long oppressed by the Vorath, began to rebel. They had seen humans stand against the Empire and win. Hope spread like wildfire. Ambassador John Harris received messages from dozens of worlds. "We stand with Earth," they said. "Teach us to fight like humans." The Vorath homeworld, once thought untouchable, now faced a real threat. Human fleets gathered at the edge of their system, joined by ships from newly freed worlds. Zorak watched, his empire crumbling. "How?" he demanded. "They were primitives." His advisor looked grim. "They were never primitives, sir. They were survivors, and we made the mistake of threatening their survival." In Earth Command, Amanda White prepared for the final phase. "Remember why we fight," she told her forces. "Not for conquest, not for glory, but for the right to exist free." The storm was coming to Vorath Prime. The galaxy would soon learn that humans weren't just another species. They were a force of nature. Admiral Peter Garcia stood on the bridge of humanity's largest warship, the United Earth. Behind him stretched a fleet of over 1,000 vessels, the largest armada ever assembled. Ships from Earth mingled with those from liberated worlds, all united against the Vorath Empire. "All ships report ready, Admiral," his first officer announced. Peter nodded. "Begin Operation Thunder." The human fleet jumped into the Vorath home system. What they found shocked them. The mighty Empire's defenses were weaker than expected. Too many ships had been sent to fight humans elsewhere. Too many resources spent trying to hold a crumbling empire together. Dr. Kevin Nelson activated his gravity weapons. Vorath orbital platforms twisted and collapsed, pulled apart by forces they couldn't comprehend. The aliens had never seen weapons like these. Their shields can't adapt fast enough, Kevin reported. "We've got them." On the planet's surface, panic spread. The Vorath had conquered countless worlds, but they had never been invaded themselves. They didn't know how to react. Major Linda Scott led the first wave of ground troops. Her special forces landed in the capital city, moving swiftly to disable defense networks. "Control room secured," she radioed. "Their planetary shields are down." Above, the battle raged. Captain Tom Davis, who had survived the siege of Titan, commanded a squadron of heavy cruisers. His ships punched through Vorath lines like bullets. Through paper. "For Titan," his crew shouted as they fired. The Vorath fought desperately. Their technology was still advanced, their weapons still deadly. Human ships exploded, lives were lost. But for every human vessel destroyed, 3 Vorath ships fell. Commander Kate Brown's stealth ship struck from behind enemy lines. They had mapped every weakness, every vulnerability during months of reconnaissance. Now they used that knowledge with surgical precision. "Command ship located," Kate reported. "Moving to intercept." Zorak watched his fleet burning, his empire dying. Everything he had built was crumbling before these impossible humans and their allies. "Launch the doomsday weapon," he ordered desperately. "Sir, that will destroy half the planet. Do it!" But human AI systems had already detected the weapon powering up. Dr. Alan Turner's cyber warfare team launched their attack. The doomsday device turned against its creators, detonating inside the Vorath command center. Admiral Garcia seized the moment. "All ships, final assault. Break their lines." The human fleet surged forward. Newly developed weapons tore through Vorath defenses. Ships that had once seemed invincible now burned in space. On the ground, human forces advanced through the capital. The Vorath military, so used to others surrendering, found themselves facing soldiers who fought for every street, every building. Private Amy Ross planted the Earth flag on the steps of the Vorath High Command. Around her, soldiers from a dozen liberated worlds did the same with their own banners. "This is for Mars," Amy said. "For Europa. For everyone you murdered." The battle lasted 3 days. When it ended, the Vorath Empire was broken. Their fleet was destroyed, their leadership captured or dead, their weapons neutralized. Admiral Garcia accepted the surrender from the surviving Vorath Council members. They looked at him with confusion and fear. "Why?" one asked. "Why fight so hard?" Why not surrender like the others? Peter's face was stone. Because you threatened our existence. Because you killed our people. Because you thought we were weak. He leaned forward. Remember this day. Remember what happens when you wake the beast that sleeps on Earth. Across the galaxy, word spread quickly. The Vorath Empire had fallen, not to another ancient power, but to a young species from a small blue planet, a species that had turned from peaceful explorers to unstoppable warriors in mere months. In Earth Command, General Amanda White received reports of Vorath colonies surrendering without a fight. Their subjects were declaring independence. The Empire was dissolving. What now? Someone asked. Amanda looked at the star map, at the thousands of worlds now free from Vorath rule. Now we make sure this never happens again. To anyone. The human storm had swept across the galaxy. Nothing would ever be the same. The Battle of Vorath Prime was supposed to be the end, but war has a way of demanding one final sacrifice. The Vorath fleet had one last surprise, a hidden armada commanded by Zorak's brother, Vortan. Captain Bill Taylor saw them first. His ship, the Defiant, was patrolling the outer system when 100 Vorath warships appeared from hyperspace. Admiral Garcia, we have incoming, he reported. It's a trap. The human fleet was scattered, celebrating victory. Ships were damaged, crews exhausted. They weren't ready for another battle. All ships regroup, Peter ordered. Form defensive lines. But Bill knew there wasn't time. The Vorath ships were heading straight for the troop transports, filled with soldiers returning from the planet's surface. Helm, set intercept course, Bill commanded. Maximum speed. His first officer looked shocked. Sir, we're one ship against 100. Bill smiled grimly. Then we'll make history. All hands, prepare for ramming speed. The Defiant charged forward. Alone. Bill opened a channel to the enemy fleet. Vortan, this is Captain William Taylor of Earth. You want those transports? Come through me. The Vorath ships opened fire. The Defiant's shields flared and died. Hull plates melted. Systems failed. But Bill kept going. Engineering, give me everything, he ordered. Every last drop of power to the engines. Behind him, the human fleet scrambled to respond. Commander Jane Roberts led the first wave of reinforcements, but she knew they wouldn't arrive in time. Taylor, break off, she called. We're coming. Negative, Commander, Bill replied. Those transports have 10,000 souls aboard. Sometimes one life buys many. The Defiant plunged into the heart of the Vorath formation. Bill targeted their flagship where Vortan commanded. At the last moment, he activated every weapon, every self-destruct system, every overloaded reactor. The explosion lit up space like a new sun. When it faded, the Vorath flagship was gone, along with 20 other ships. The enemy formation broke apart in confusion. Jane's reinforcements arrived to find the Vorath fleet in chaos. Without their commander, without their flagship, they fought poorly. The battle became a rout. Focus fire on their engines, Jane ordered. Disable, don't destroy. It's over. Within hours, the last Vorath fleet surrendered. The war was truly finished. But the cost was high. The Defiant and her crew were gone, along with too many others. On Earth, millions watched the ceremony honoring the fallen. Captain Bill Taylor received humanity's highest award posthumously. His last words became legend. Sometimes one life buys many. President Sarah Coleman addressed the gathering. We did not seek this war. We did not want it. But when it came, we fought with everything we had. We lost brave souls like Captain Taylor. We must ensure their sacrifice meant something. The cleanup began. Human ships helped rebuild destroyed worlds. Former Vorath subjects received aid and protection. The galaxy watched in amazement as the species that had fought so fiercely now worked just as hard for peace. Dr. Emma Thompson led scientific exchanges with former enemy worlds. Knowledge should unite, not divide, she said. That's how we honor those we lost. General Mike Rodriguez oversaw the dismantling of Vorath military installations. We break their swords, he explained. But we help them build plowshares. 6 months after the battle, representatives from across the galaxy gathered on Earth. They came to witness something unprecedented, the voluntary limitation of human military power. Admiral Peter Garcia stood before them. "We have proven we can destroy. Now we must prove we can build. We will keep enough strength to defend ourselves and others, but we will not become what we fought against." The assembly erupted in applause. They had expected conquerors. They found protectors. In a quiet moment, Jane Roberts visited the memorial for the defiant. She placed flowers beneath Bill Taylor's name. "You showed us the way," she whispered. "Not just how to fight, but why." The war was over. Humanity had won. But their greatest victory wasn't in battle. It was in choosing to be better than their enemies. 1 year after the fall of the Vorath Empire, Ambassador Mary Phillips stood in the Grand Hall of the Galactic Council. Representatives from thousands of worlds filled the chamber, a sight that would have been impossible before the war. "We gather today not as conquerors and conquered," she began, "but as equals seeking a better future." The United Human Alliance was born that day. Not an empire, not a dominion, but a partnership. Humans would serve as protectors, mediators, and teachers, but never as rulers. General Chris Baker oversaw the final dismantling of Vorath military technology. But instead of destroying it all, humans did something unexpected. They shared it. Every defensive technology, every shield improvement, every advancement was given freely to smaller civilizations. "The galaxy is safer when everyone can defend themselves," Chris explained. "We learned that the hard way." On Mars, now rebuilt, a memorial stood where millions had died. Children from dozens of worlds played in its gardens, their laughter a testament to what had been won. Dr. Emma Thompson established the Galactic Science Institute. Researchers from every species worked together, sharing knowledge that had once been hoarded. "The Vorath used technology to divide," she said. "We use it to unite." Former Vorath soldiers found new purpose. Many joined peacekeeping forces, working alongside humans to prevent future conflicts. They spoke of a strange Earth concept called redemption. Captain Lisa Morgan, now Admiral Morgan, commanded the Alliance Defense Fleet. Ships from every member world served together, trained in human tactics but respecting each species' unique abilities. "We're not creating a human galaxy," she told her mixed crews. "We're creating a free one." The transformation amazed everyone. The species that had fought with such ferocity now led with wisdom. The warriors had become guardians. The destroyers had become builders. On Earth, a new space station welcomed visitors from across the galaxy. Tour guides explained human history, showing how centuries of conflict had taught valuable lessons. "We know war," they would say, "because we've survived it. We choose peace because we understand the cost." Small civilizations, once terrified of larger powers, now had a protector. Pirates and raiders found themselves facing human-led coalition forces. The message was clear. The Age of Empires was over. Ambassador John Harris, who had witnessed the first contact, now signed treaties with hundreds of worlds. Each agreement included the human promise: "We stand with you, not over you." In schools across the galaxy, children learned about the Great Change, how a young species from a distant world had transformed galactic civilization, how they had turned their darkest hour into everyone's brightest dawn. The Vorath, once feared conquerors, adapted to their new reality. Without their empire, they discovered art, music, and philosophy. Many thanked humans for freeing them from their own ambitions. "We were trapped in conquest," a former Vorath commander admitted. "You showed us another way." 5 years after the war, peace had taken root. Trade flourished. Knowledge flowed freely. Species that had never met now worked side by side, but humans never forgot the lesson. They maintained their strength, their vigilance, their readiness, because they knew that peace must be protected. In Earth Command, a simple plaque hung on the wall. It bore the words that had changed everything. "Since you chose war, let us show you how it's done." Below it, a new inscription had been added. Since we chose peace, let us show you how it's kept. Admiral Peter Garcia, now retired, often visited schools to tell his story. Children would ask why humans fought so hard. Because we had something worth fighting for, he would answer. And now we have something worth building for. The galaxy had learned its lesson. Humans preferred peace, cherished life, and welcomed friendship. But if threatened, if pushed, if forced to fight, they would remind everyone why they were the most dangerous species in the galaxy. Not because they loved war, but because they loved peace enough to fight for it. The stars still shimmered like diamonds against the black void of space. But now they shone on a galaxy at peace, protected by the species that had taught everyone the true meaning of strength. Sometimes, the most powerful message isn't a threat, it's a promise kept.